Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, April the 5th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith. Happy Easter to those of you that observe it and celebrate it. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. It is a pretty big Sunday even though it's Easter Sunday, there's a lot going on in the NHL here on this Sunday. A pretty big slate. We've got 4 national TV games today. It's another Sunday. They did this already once where we've got an afternoon doubleheader, TNT, and an evening doubleheader on ESPN. So if you love hockey, and it's nice to see the NHL getting that spotlight, getting that coverage from their national TV partners here today, TNT and an ESPN doubleheader, basically from 1 p.m. Eastern all the way till late at night when Blues Avs ends. So like I said, it's great to see, and obviously lots more playoff implications as well. Before we get into Sunday's games, recap of Saturday. I should have remembered to announce this sooner because the date's coming up on us, but it is time, better now than late than never, to announce the date of our free-for-all Ice Guys live betcast.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
Our free-for-all Ice Guys live betcast. This one open to everybody. This week, it will be a Thursday betcast this week. Thursday, April the 9th, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. This will be our free-for-all betcast open to everybody for the month of April, which means guaranteed to see Goose there for that one on Thursday. But looking forward to it on Thursday night. It's obviously going to be another big NHL slate exactly 1 week from the end of the regular season on Thursday night when we host this live betcast. So excited about it. Free for all, open to everybody, 7 p.m. Eastern, although we always give preferential treatment to the Patreon members who, as far as getting space on the actual stream on the betcast. But looking forward to it this Thursday night, April 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern. As always, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. All right, Saturday. It was all over the map as far as the betting results are concerned. The Saturday slate, up and down, up and down, up and down. Somehow we got out of it profitable. We'll take it. Not a huge profit, but we got out of it profitable. It started with, I'm at my wit's end with the fucking Detroit Red Wings. I really am. I mean, that's despicable yesterday. 4-1 loss to the New York Rangers in that game against them. Like I said, just a loss that is just, it's hard to fathom. And it's another day, too, where they didn't pay the price for it. We'll get to it. It's like everybody, again, in the Eastern Conference trying to get into a playoff spot, tripping over their own 2 feet again yesterday. Like I said, if I, as the commissioner, I'm saying, you know what? We're taking away a second wildcard spot in this conference. Either that or we're giving it to some team out west. We're doing something because you guys aren't showing you deserve it or want it bad enough. You know, you're not even going to get this playoff spot. We're taking it off the board.
West ain't much better either, really. When you think about it.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's true. I mean, my goodness. And it makes you think, how are these teams going to stand up even if they get into the playoffs in their first round matchup? You know, are they going to do we have to be worried about these teams at all with just how inconsistent and erratic they are and how much they have been that way, especially as the games and the pressure has mounted here down the stretch? Detroit's a perfect example of that. Who the fuck's going to be scared of Detroit in the playoffs if they somehow sneak in, you know, with the way they're playing right now? And I know upsets can happen any given day, any given series, best of 7. But like I said, I don't know how a Tampa Bay, a Carolina, any of those top teams right now in the Eastern Conference are going to look at a fucking wild card team in the East and say, wow, we're quaking in our boots right now in that first round. So Detroit's a perfect example of that. They just can't string wins together, good performances together. 4-1 loss to the lowly New York Rangers. And then the Ottawa Senators with Minnesota playing for, I don't want to say playing for exercise, but Minnesota's probably locked into third in the Central. Although I guess with Dallas losing yesterday to Colorado, there's still a chance maybe they can track down Dallas for at least home ice in that first round series. But at the same point in time, Ottawa's another team. They have a great win against Buffalo. And what do you do next time out? 4-1 loss to the Minnesota Wild. down 2-0 after the first period. What's with these teams not being ready to play in the opening period in some of these big-time spots? Just hard to fathom. It's head-scratching. But Minnesota gets the 4-1 win there against Ottawa in that one. Colorado shuts out Dallas 2-0 in that. In hindsight, I'm mad. I bet any overs in that game simply because I remember the last time Colorado got their ass kicked at home. They didn't really get their ass kicked by Vancouver. It was 8-6, but the last time they were off a bad loss at home, they played Dallas. It was the Pittsburgh game. They got bombed 7-2. They played Dallas. It was like a 2-1 game. It was tight. Yeah. It was low scoring. They focused on defense, and the same thing happened yesterday. It was a very tight checking game. Colorado emerges with the 2-0 win against Dallas.
I was worried about that game.
Yeah,
I was worried about that game because remember I said it. But these are two teams that have very familiar with one another, know that they can play each other down the road. And Dallas kind of played that game as if like, hey, we're not going to show our cards. We're not really
low and slow,
doing a whole lot.
Did kind of
much low and slow. For the majority of that game. So I was worried about that.
Yeah, no question. Worries were confirmed, 100%. And Scott Wedgwood, very solid. Both goalies were good. I thought DeSmith was pretty good for Dallas, but Wedgwood with the shutout, and Jared Bednar, you got to start him in game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I said that. It's got to be Scott Wedgwood at this point. It really is. But like I said, he's been very, very preferential in the past to Mackenzie Blackwood, but I think even Jared Bednar to me is starting to show signs of leaning towards Scott Wedgwood. The fact he gave Wedgwood that game yesterday against Dallas, the team that they're trying to put away for the division, was a good sign that maybe he's leaning that way. But nice win there for Colorado. This game really, it was not a really great start to the day. This is the game that turned things around for me. Pittsburgh, Florida. We had Pittsburgh team total over. The best bet was over 6.5. It was 14-2 now to the over for the Pittsburgh Penguins in their last 16 games. They're an over machine right now. They score goals in bunches and they still give them up. But that got ugly for Florida. 6-0 Pittsburgh second period to turn a 2-2 tie into an 8-2 lead at that time, and they cruised from there. 9-4 victory. Evgeny Malkin with the point milestone and a hat trick for the Pittsburgh Penguins there in that victory over the Florida Panthers. Dominant win for Pittsburgh. Their offense is damn good. So when they get in the playoffs, and I think we're at the point now where Pittsburgh's going to get in. It's just now going to be a question of if they get in, can they get some semblance of goaltending and defense? Some. They don't have to be like phenomenal defensively because they're such a great offensive team right now. But they just have to be not giving up the back-breaking goals, getting the timely saves, making sure that in key situations they shut down the other team. That's going to be the game. 28 goals for Pens in their last 5 games, says Rich in the chat. So, yeah, there's no denying their offensive abilities. It's their defensive abilities that are still going to be the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, they look like a team that'll be dangerous to draw in the first round, but probably not really worrisome if you get them in the second round or further if they go any further than that. Because, like I said, they have the offensive horses. They could easily win a track meet of a first-round series. We've seen first-round playoff series go up and down and have a bunch of goals. Pittsburgh's actually been in some first-round series like that back in the day. But, yeah, this doesn't seem like a team that can make a deep run based on how their defense isn't able to shut things down in those important moments.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair comment with what we have seen from this squad, no question. Boston losing 3-1 to Tampa Bay. They got the first goal, but Tampa Bay with 3 unanswered after that. 3-1 victory. Tampa Bay now finds themselves alone for first in the Atlantic Division now. I think now that they've gotten first place back, they're probably going to keep it. We'll see. Montreal's still in the mix, though. Don't count them out. They get another win last night. Buffalo, I don't know. Buffalo, I think, might be just falling short of winning. But they still have a chance, too. But at the moment, Tampa Bay back in the spot that they held for a good chunk of the season, first in the Atlantic with that 3-1 win over Boston. Columbus. What can we do with you guys? 2-1 loss to Winnipeg. Another team just can't get out of their own way. But they came through for me. One bet I liked with Columbus was first goal, first period. We ended up cashing that. That was the best bet for them in that game. You couldn't trust them for the full game. But I figured they would. They've had good starts in recent games, even the games they've lost. And after Rick Bowness read them the riot act, I figured they'd come out strong and have a good chance to get on the board first, and they did. But they couldn't sustain it. Kyle Connor gets both Winnipeg goals What a save Hellebuck made at the end on Fantilli. Fantilli had a glorious chance to tie the game in the dying seconds. But here's Columbus now, another team that's got all these opportunities to get back into a playoff spot, and they've tripped up every time. Washington 6-2 against Buffalo. That looked like a Buffalo team last night that was a little played like an excited team to make the playoffs and end the drought because they were not sharp last night. And Alex Lyon, has really hit a skid as well for the Buffalo Sabres. He has not been sharp of late. I think we're at the point now where Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, picked a pack of pickled peppers, is going to be your guy in the playoffs for the Buffalo Sabres. I think he has clearly separated himself from Alex Lyon the last couple of weeks. Washington with the 6-2 win. And all of a sudden, the Capitals, we thought many a time over that, they're too far behind. There's too much ground to make up. They're 1 freaking point out now. 1 point out, the Washington Capitals, if you can believe it, after that win against the Buffalo Sabres. So Alex Ovechkin could still play playoff hockey this year with his Capitals team. They're right back in the mix again. And don't look now, guess who they play tonight on a back-to-back? The New York Rangers, another winnable game for the Washington Capitals. So like I said, this is something that Washington is still in it. And it's all because Ottawas and your Columbuses and your Detroits just can't get out of their own way. And they keep Washington hanging around. And now here's Washington 1 point out, still very much alive in the wild card race. This was a great game for me. Utah-Vancouver swept the board. Team total over Utah. Both teams to score first period over. Vancouver to get a goal in the first period. I'm going to keep betting that damn thing. Vancouver to get a goal in the first period. They've been terrific lately at getting on the board in the opening 20 minutes. So everything hit here, Utah, in that 7-4 win over the Vancouver Canucks. That's the game that pushed me to profit for the whole day. Like, we swept that Utah-Vancouver game, dismantled it from pillar to post. This game helped. Montreal, New Jersey, it was a sweat. They went up 3-0. New Jersey rallies to tie it. But in a shootout, the Montreal Canadiens emerged victorious. What a job by them. Great run for the Canadiens. I think that's their 8th straight win now. Montreal last night, 4-3 over New Jersey. They're still very much alive in the Atlantic. They've still got a chance. Only 2 back of Tampa Bay. It can still be done. They play New Jersey again tonight, the second night of back-to-back games against the Devils, this time in Montreal. But 4-3 win there for the Canadiens in a shootout over the Devils. We had the Canadiens money line and team total over there. This game, 4-3 Carolina. We did lose the small Islander money line shot, but we cashed with plus 190. Islanders first goal, first period. They got on the board early. I felt it in my bones. They would jump early and be ready to go after just a debacle, laying an egg against Philly. But again, Carolina showed they're the better team, and that's why I like the first period, first goal look a lot more with the Islanders. And they did come out strong, but could not obviously sustain it. Carolina got better as the game went on, wore them down. Of course, puck possession, which Carolina is good at. 4-3 win for the Hurricanes last night over the New York Islanders, and another costly loss because it's a regulation loss. This next game was like on crack, on drugs. Whatever you want to call it, Leafs and Kings, man. This game was stupid. It was just nuts. It was entertaining hockey, but it was such bad hockey. Turnovers, horseshit goaltending, horseshit defense, really on both sides. It was ugly, and it was just who was going to screw up more at the end in this game, and eventually it was Toronto. Nylander flubs a breakaway. Doesn't even get a clean shot away. Kemper starts the rush the other way, and Byfield puts it away. 7-6 Kings in overtime. I'll say this: Kemper was beyond bad last night, and this has been a really horrific run for Darcy Kemper. So yes, LA with that big 2 points is currently in a wild card spot, tied with Nashville because Nashville got the win. San Jose may never fucking beat Nashville ever again at this rate, but you look at it with LA. Do you start to consider Forsberg moving forward? I know they won last night, but you can't say for 1 second they won because of Darcy Kemper. They won in spite of him last night for the Los Angeles Kings. I think you got to give it a thought if you're DJ Smith, that Anton Forsberg maybe should be getting more of these big game starts here down the stretch. Another Kings draw cashes last night. 31 overtime games for the LA Kings. As Jonathan Davis mentions in the chat. Yeah, just insane. We got to just, I think at this point, it's just bet the Kings draw every game until proven otherwise. That's where we're at with them. It's been so many that have gone past regulation, and another one last night. Although thankfully for them, they did get the victory there in that game. Anaheim let me down. I did have the over 6.5 as well, but I had Anaheim team total over 3.5 for a bigger bet, and they lose 5-3. It's not good right now for Anaheim. That's a game you got to have. I know it's a back-to-back because you played St. Louis on Friday, but Calgary had been terrible on the road, and you lose 5-3 at home. Not good. Husso wasn't great last night. He kicked the fucking puck into his own net on the one save he tried to make. So that's issues. Defense has just crumbled. They got to figure it out. They're very fortunate Edmonton lost to Vegas, which we'll get to next, because now they're still tied for first in the Pacific Division, with Edmonton losing 5-1 to Vegas last night. Let's give Carter Hart credit. He was really good last night. I think that might have been the best Carter Hart I've seen since he had that whole ordeal and since he got signed by Vegas. I thought he was really good last night in that game for Vegas. Edmonton did have their chances. Vegas 3-0 now, undefeated under John Tortorella. Now, we will say this. There was no Hyman. There was no Draisaitl last night. So we have to remember that. I hate to dampen the mood for the Vegas fans that think they're back. But, that was no Hyman and Draisaitl last night for Edmonton. That did hurt the Oilers a little bit. But there's no doubt they've played a more north-south game. John Tortorella stressed that. And they are playing better. And they're playing with a little bit more, I don't know, they're locked in. They're engaged. They're dialed in more than they were with Bruce Cassidy at the end of his run. So give Vegas credit. They got it going. And they're all of a sudden, I believe, 1 or 2 points back in the Pacific Division. Like, they can still win the division and overtake Edmonton and Anaheim. Suddenly, the division is back on the table for the Vegas Golden Knights, the Pacific Division title. Chicago, how about your Blackhawks? 4-2 against the Seattle Kraken. I'm starting to think that actual crackheads on the street would have a better chance of winning big hockey games right now.
Probably.
Than the Seattle Kraken. But nevertheless, I mean, it's not been good. I mean, they are floundering right now, and they've taken themselves right out of this mix as far as I'm concerned. What are they now? 6 points back now of LA and Nashville, that duo that have the 2 final wild card spots. And then, yes, the drought that never ends continued last night. San Jose has now lost an astounding 15 straight games against the Nashville Predators. And guess who the fucking idiot was that took San Jose against that kind of a streak? Me. I thought last night they would do it, though. I liked the way they were playing, and Askarov was not sharp. They weren't sharp in the opening period. The opening period did them in. You can't fall down 3-0. Yeah, they tried to battle back. They cut it to 3-2. I felt at that time maybe they were going to pull this great comeback. But again, Nashville, just like the LA game, they avoid disaster and hang on for a 5-3 win there in that one. I got to admit, as a hockey fan, Alex, I want San Jose to get in so badly. There'd be such a jolt of excitement and electricity for this Stanley Cup playoffs. You can't say any hockey fan with a brain would rather see fucking LA and Nashville in the playoffs instead of San Jose. Right. So just from a hockey fan standpoint, that you're going to get better hockey in the Stanley Cup playoffs, more exciting hockey with San Jose compared to LA and Nashville. But unfortunately, now with that loss, San Jose 2 points back of both LA and Nashville for that final wild card spot. Alex, go ahead with remaining thoughts you have from yesterday.
No, yeah, just say it behooves the league and everybody for San Jose to be in there. When you're talking about a kid like Macklin Celebrini, 100-point season, this young of age, you want to see him perform for the first time in the playoffs, and to be in that quadrant against Jack Eichel in Vegas, Connor McDavid in Edmonton, and going up against those guys in Anaheim, another young group that like I said, tit for tat right there, with their rebuild. That would be a fantastic foursome to see. But like you said, nobody wants to take care of business and win the Pacific. Nobody wants to take care of business and win the second wild card in either conference right now, it seems, and it's created this logjam of a mess. But it's also been a lot of fun, and for those who hate this playoff format, I mean, we're getting exciting hockey in the last few days of the season. When this was 1 versus 8, when it was the old format, these days were throwaway days, and it made betting a lot easier. I remember, the days you could just run and grab 2-1 underdogs left and right because teams who knew that they were in their playoff positioning, if they weren't battling somebody else who was in the playoff positioning or needed, they needed the extra points to move up or down, they really didn't give a shit. Now we're seeing, teams that are still fighting around, like I said, teams that we've marked for dead in the last 2 weeks back into play. Winnipeg, Washington, St. Louis, all these teams that we thought were out of it. So, even Seattle, as bad as they've played, but they're still mathematically eliminated as we got over a week and a half left. So that makes it a little bit exciting. It makes it a little trickier as far as the betting goes. And you've got teams that are teams that are taking care of business, winning games by margin. That's been rough for draw season of late too. Not seeing a whole lot of these games going past regulation this week like we would in previous years. But it's mainly because teams who we feel like they should be taking care of business, teams that, like I said, that must win, need those points, they aren't getting it done right now.
Yeah, that is for damn sure. You're right about that. It's just amazing. They're way more, way more not getting it done than actually, stepping up in these big moments. So, like I said, oh my goodness. Oh, baby.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
We have a bombshell. We have a fucking bombshell to tell you about here in the NHL. We have a coaching change. This is insane because this is even less remaining games in the regular season than when fucking Cassidy got let go by the Vegas Golden Knights and replaced by John Tortorella. I just wanted to make sure this was legit. It is legit because This is Ethan Sears, Islanders beat reporter. Patrick Waugh has been fired as head coach of the New York Islanders, replaced by Peter DeBoer.
Wow.
Peter DeBoer has been linked to every job known to man the last several months with teams that have been rumored to be about to fire a coach. And here it is that Peter DeBoer is now going to land with the New York Islanders as their head coach after Patrick Waugh has been fired by general manager Matthew Darche, of course, the general manager of this New York Islanders team. Wow. I mean, if you don't think there's pressure to win and pressure to make the playoffs and that these teams don't feel it, just look at some of these moves being made. That Bruce Cassidy gets fired with 9 or 10 games left. That Patrick Waugh gets fired with 5 or 6 games left in the regular season, whatever it is for the New York Islanders. But look, the New York Islanders last night, you do start strong. You can't hold on to the lead. You lose. That Philadelphia game is probably the game.
Yeah.
Not so much last night, but that was probably the game that's planted the seed in Matthew Darche's head that maybe I got to do this. Maybe I got to make a change here because that Friday night debacle against the Flyers outshot 12-2 in the first period and down 2-0 after the Flyers against a team you're trying to fend off for a playoff spot and a third place spot in the Metro. And that's how you start a game in a game of that magnitude. That's the game. That's the moment that it entered Matthew Darche's mind. I'm sure of it, that maybe I got to make a change. And of course, now here we are, Sunday at noon, Easter Sunday. Can you believe it? The guy got fired on Easter Sunday. Patrick Waugh, head coach of the Islanders. Wow. Huge bombshell. Patrick Waugh out, Peter DeBoer in as head coach of the New York Islanders. Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, Pete DeBoer has risen in Long Island, and this is
Jesus. Jesus not as important. Peter DeBoer.
Peter DeBoer. And what's so wild about this too is that this is an Islanders team that doesn't play until Thursday, so they have time. I guess they will have a couple of days of practice to get acclimated with DeBoer. But when you look at where, like I said, we talk about how crazy these standings are. You've got Philadelphia just 1 point behind them in the division standings. Columbus, same thing. Islanders could be out of a playoff spot without playing between now and Thursday. Yep. And here you are having a new coach, breaking in with this group with just a few games remaining. I mean, it's absolutely wild. The fact that we could be talking about if the Isles and Vegas both make it, 2 teams with brand new coaches, like I said, less than 10 games into their tenure, and now you're heading into game 1, round 1 of the playoffs. That's just absolutely wild. But no, did not see this coming. Somebody asked the chat, "You see this coming?" I don't think anyone in the world saw this coming, other than Matthew Darche and his group of people in the front office there.
Yeah, like I said, just wow. I have a feeling Friday is when he thought, he probably decided, you know what, we're not gonna announce the change when we got a back-to-back and we got to go down to Carolina on Saturday night. But I think Friday night is when he said, I'm going to do this. That Philly game was so bad, and I watched it start to. It was so bad for the New York got to play that way on home ice in a game of that magnitude. And I'm happy I had the Flyers in that one. But like I said, that's the game where I was like, geez, it was rough. That's what happens. Patrick Waugh, sometimes, and we saw it in Colorado when he coached there, it can be the shelf life syndrome. And it's like that with all the coaches, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, it's just eventually things go south and change is made. And that's exact. Now, here's the thing with DeBoer. He could light a spark, get him into the playoffs. But what's been the issue with DeBoer? Getting over the hump in the playoffs. Although he has gone to a Stanley Cup final with two teams, New Jersey and San Jose. But he's also a head coach of a Dallas Stars team most recently that couldn't get past the Western Conference Finals. So that's going to be your issue. But I think for the Islanders, it's still a quality coach. He's won a lot of games. He's going to provide a spark, a little bit of a different, mentality from Waugh. And certainly getting in the playoffs, I think, is Matthew Darsh's first and foremost concern right now.
Yeah.
Pete DeBoer can help you do that. And
I don't think we have to worry about Pete DeBoer quickly pulling Ilya Sorokin for David Riddick the way that he pulled Jake Ottinger for Jason Smith last year. I don't think those situations will arise quite the same.
Yeah. I mean, just wow. I mean, holy mackerel. That has been, and there it is officially. The Islander, I'll retweet it there. The Islander Twitter X account has made it official. New York Islanders general manager and executive vice president Matthew Darsh announced today that Patrick Waugh has been relieved of his coaching responsibilities. Peter DeBoer has been named head coach of the New York Islanders. Wow. And remember, he's also a fellow Francophone of Matthew Darsh, Patrick Waugh. But this is about results. None of that matters. So, yeah, there you go. Peter DeBoer. Wow. Peter DeBoer, head coach of the New York Islanders. If you would have said that to me 2 hours ago, I said, what drugs were you taking last night? But here we go. Wow. We got to go and move on because we got a card to break down. But wow, I'm still having a hard time shaking off what I've just heard. But there you go. It never fails. There's always something that you think you've seen everything and heard everything of the shock variety, and then you hear something like that. Patrick Waugh out. Peter DeBoer in as head coach of the New York Islanders, trying to save their season and save a playoff appearance. And we'll see. Now, does that mean we have to ride the Islanders? Well, I'll take them probably next game, but we'll go from there. But
next game Thursday at home against Toronto. So
they'll probably bury Toronto in that game. Is that their? They don't play till Thursday.
They don't play till Thursday. They were talking about that, and that was funny because they were talking about that on the Islanders intermission on Friday. I watched all that game Friday too, and that's what they were talking about. How bad that Star was after the first intermission, and they kind of were mentioning about how they said we could be out of a playoff spot against our will essentially because of how teams are playing, and we aren't for the next 4 days. Which I think, like you said, that's probably the night and what gave Darsh the opening to say, hey, we got 4 days off. We have at least enough time to run a couple.
And if he wants to change the system, he can. He can. Right. Yeah, he can. Yeah, he's got time. Yep. If he wants to instill any system,
or even just to get acclimated with the team, never mind change the system, just to get acclimated and know these guys for 4 days. That's huge. I mean, did Tortorella even have that kind of time with Vegas? It was pretty much he hopped in and was coaching the next night. So
yeah, there you go. At least with Peter DeBoer, he's going to have some practice time and get a chance to get acclimated with the team. Now, John Tortorella didn't change much of Bruce Cassidy's systems because he says this late in this, so maybe DeBoer will take that same tact. Who knows? But nevertheless, like I said, this is nuts, man. The teams are not feeling any more pressure in the history of my existence watching the NHL as right now, because this was unheard of 30 years ago. Are you shitting me? No team in their right mind is firing a coach 30 years ago with 8 games left, 5 games left in the regular season.
And here's the crazy thing, right? Because everything's so wide open. Is there really a team like let's look at the Eastern Conference? We'll get to today's show. In the Eastern Conference, is there one single team that you can say, yes, this is a team I feel comfortable with, and not saying future is what you already have in pocket? One team right now that you can say, I have $100, I'm putting money on them to win the Stanley Cup in the Eastern Conference. I can't trust any of these 8 teams that are in the spot right now. 10 teams, especially you start talking about the bottom 4.
I think I'm closest with Tampa and Montreal. I'm closest with those two. And even then, I'm like, I like it. I think that the really good chance, but I'm not like, I'm going to put my life on it. Yeah.
Can't trust anybody in the Pacific Division, right? We talked about that for 3 weeks. Colorado, as good as they've had, great as they had of a season, even they sound shaky within themselves. The Bednar comment still rings loud from the other night. Dallas, we know Dallas's issues. Minnesota, can you win around? So who can you trust? Every team understands that there's no one that's trustworthy of the 16 teams that are going to make it, and they're all making these moves now because everyone feels, for the first time in a very long time, it feels like a completely wide open bracket where any of these 16 teams can get hot, go on a run, and win the Stanley Cup.
Carolina would be my third choice, Robert, who I trust most. It would be Carolina after Montreal, I love the goaltending. Dobich was great again last night. I know they tied the game, New Jersey, but he was still terrific. Now, and even with Montreal, there's a flaw. What if a physical, heavy, big team, and they are a little bit smaller in size, leans on them in a 7-game series and wears them down? That's my issue with Montreal. My issue with Carolina is clearly Bussey and Anderson, and them being good enough in a playoff series. And my issue with Tampa Bay is probably just overall health and the depth on that back end, and maybe a little bit the third and the fourth line, which I don't think is nearly as good as it's been in the past. But I think of all, I think at the top, Tampa Bay probably I trust the most. And even with them, there's, still those underlying concerns I have. Yep.
And we haven't even gotten to that topic. We'll talk about, of course, once everything's finalized. But the young goaltenders, the unproven goaltenders that are going to be in the playoffs this year. We talk about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Brandon Bussey, you got Lukas Dostal. These guys, as good as they've played throughout the year, we're talking about a whole different level and a whole different setup, and a lot of guys that just aren't familiar with playing in the playoffs, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that has to be taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And like I said, I think definitely you could see this be a wide open Stanley Cup playoffs in both conferences. What I would say is don't be shocked if there's just a ton of chaos, lower seeds beating higher seeds. It could be one of those playoff seasons, no doubt. So like I said, very, very interesting to see how it goes moving forward. And again, if you're just joining us, we're just wrapping up talking about it. The big news, monster news. We didn't see this coming at all. Bombshell on an Easter Sunday. Patrick Waugh fired as head coach of the New York Islanders, and Peter DeBoer taking over as head coach. And like I said, it's just crazy to see now 2 teams this late in the season. Vegas last week, and now New York Islanders today, firing a coach this late in the regular season. All right, let's turn the page. We got a card to break down here on this Sunday and preview every game. We'll start with the TNT game in just 20 minutes. First of the TNT Sunday afternoon doubleheader. And I'm going to be brief on this one. Minnesota minus 130, road favorite, 6 the total. I got 2 bets. The only 2 things I'm interested in betting. Give me the draw, and there's no chance I'm betting Detroit again, although I don't want to come back on Minnesota and lay a price on the road with them after the win against Ottawa. I think this could be a draw, East versus West, and give me Ryan Hartman to score for Minnesota. Those are the 2 bets. Pretty simple. Ryan Hartman's feeling it. Got another goal yesterday, consecutive game goal scoring streak. Nothing else to bet for me but that. Clear 2 choices. Draw, and give me Ryan Hartman to score for Minnesota yet again. Alex, what do you think here? Minnesota, Detroit.
That's 2 more bets than I have on this game. This is a pass for me. The early start, like I said, wild. I just don't know where their motivation's at. Detroit, they suck. So this is a pass for me.
That's fair. I agree. I don't want. You couldn't beg me to bet aside here in this game, but the draw I think could get there. I like the draw just because it's East versus West, and like I said, Ryan Hartman to score. How can you not? He's streaky. We've talked about it, and when he gets going like this, scoring in multiple games, he can keep it going for a while. 4 straight with a goal. They finally dropped the thing a little bit down to plus 280, but it's still a pretty good price. And by the way, goaltending here, it looks like we should have goalies confirmed now. Talbot, I think, for Detroit, I would think on the back-to-back. Yes. And Philip Gustafson for Minnesota. Exactly what I expected, because it was Gibson for Detroit yesterday, and it was Volstead for Minnesota.
Talbot against his old team. Is there any motivation?
Yeah,
still no motivation?
Yeah, it's not Gibson's fault. It's the other team. It's the team in front of him right now. Like I said, I actually that makes me like Detroit probably a little less that Talbot's in, but we'll see how that one plays out. There should be an urgency edge for Detroit. There really should be. But they've had an urgency edge against half the teams they've lost to recently, including a certain sad sack New York Rangers team. yesterday. Knowing them, watch them win today, though, Detroit. That's kind of the schizophrenic nature of the league and them in particular. All right, Florida and Pittsburgh. Next up, 3 p.m. Eastern. We got Pittsburgh minus 230, home favorites, 6.5 the total. Well, you know we're taking the over again. That's a no-brainer. 14-2 run to the over for the Pittsburgh Penguins in their last 16 games. 9-4 yesterday. The same two teams meeting in the very same venue here this afternoon against with the Panthers and the Penguins. So I'm on over 6.5 here in this game once again. I love the Pittsburgh team total over 3.5 yesterday. I'm tempted to come back to it, but I could see Florida trying to show some defensive. Problem is, Florida's got the Charlotte Checkers. It's the Florida Checkers right now for this roster. Look who's out. I'm going to reiterate who's out: Mikkola, Rodriguez, Marchand, obviously Barkov out all year. Reinhart, Lundell, Ekblad, Balinskis, Kulikov. How many defensemen is that? That's 4 defensemen out. You got the center ice positions gutted. It's just a shell of the team, right now. So I am going to sprinkle on that Pittsburgh team total over again. I liked it a lot more yesterday. But here is something I'm going to bet on the Florida side. I'm going to take a shot with Florida first goal, first period here. You got clobbered 9-4, and I know this is a patchwork lineup right now, but I could see Pittsburgh kind of dopey to start. We just beat the fuck out of this team 9-4 yesterday, and maybe Florida sneaks up on them early and gets that opening goal. And the price is pretty good on it as well. So Florida first goal, first period, after getting absolutely obliterated yesterday. I'll take a small shot on that. But that's it for Florida. I'm not taking them to win the game or anything. Just first goal, first period. Alex, what do you think here? Florida, Pittsburgh.
I really just like both teams to score in the first period, plus 150. Like I said, and I could make sense that Florida could be the team to come out early and get that first goal. But like I said, when you have a game like that yesterday, you'd expect, no matter what kind of patchwork group, whether this is a mostly AHL lineup or their full lineup, to show some pride and some honor and come back after just an absolute ass kicking like that. So I'd lean with that first goal, first period look, but pregame, I'm going to just stick with both teams to score in the first period, plus 150 over the FanDuel.
Daytime bargain bin from this game. You know what? I always usually mention it during the game. I'm going to save it. This game's at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll save it for the bargain bin special, but I do have a bargain bin from this game, Panthers and Penguins. But yeah, there's some good goal props here. Erik Karlsson worth a look. Certainly he scored yesterday. He's got goals in 5 of the last 10 games. Malkin with the hat trick. Mantha, we've talked about him, how red hot he's been for the last 5. He's scored. AJ Greer. I remember I mentioned AJ Greer yesterday. He's getting a top 6 forward spot. He's starting to get more ice time. He's making the most of it. He's putting the puck in the net. I like the price on AJ Greer once again here in that plus 600 range to find the back of the net. The 2 guys that have scored in 4 straight games, Ricard Raquel and return of the Mackie Samoskevich. There's certainly ample reason to bet both of them once again to score this afternoon. So, like I said, it's a pretty good goal prop here, game here, Florida and Pittsburgh. All right, next up, it's the second game of this afternoon's Easter Sunday TNT doubleheader. Boston, Philadelphia. We've got Philly about minus 140, home favorites. The total here sitting 6 across the board. This price is moving even more toward the Flyers side. I did lay the price with Philly here. They have been the one team that we've been able to trust in some of these recent games here where, hey, you want to get into the playoffs? Show me. Columbus doesn't. Detroit hasn't. Ottawa hasn't. Well, Philly has. I like what I've seen here from the Flyers the last couple of games. And here we go with Boston again, struggling on the road, 4-11. It's back-to-back on the road. They're also 4-11 in their last 15 road games, the Boston Bruins. So they're just not a trustworthy team. I think we're going to get Korpisalo as well, downgrade from Swayman in net for the Bruins. It should be Dan Vladar here for Philadelphia. Once again, he was very solid in the Friday night win against the New York Islanders. So, yeah, I laid the buck. I got $135 on Philly. It's gone to minus 140. Anything shy of minus 150, I would take it. If it gets above that, you got to think regulation or -1 or do something different at that point. But, yeah, I'm on the Flyers here, laying the price. Alex, Bruins, Flyers.
This is my only draw right now as of today. I grabbed this. I got actually plus 319 earlier this morning, and I do have Philly to win in overtime or shootout plus 500 over at FanDuel. I just feel like this would be kind of a tighter game, more of that Sunday under feel to this contest, and could go past regulation. But if I had to trust the team to win this game, obviously, like I said, can't take Boston on the road the way they played of late. So Philly to win it, but I think it would be past regulation. So plus 500 along with that draw.
And you said it with Philadelphia, I've said it with Philadelphia that they're okay winning 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 hockey. Clearly under Rick, and Rick Tocchet doesn't mind it. So that's why I don't like. Usually when I'm betting a favorite in this price range, I'll just go right to team total over. I'm not doing that in this case. I'm actually just taking the money line because I could see 3-1 Philly. I really could. I could absolutely see that being a final score here between these two teams. So that's why I'm on the money line and only the money line this time, not the team total over for the Philadelphia Flyers. As far as props go for this game, I mean, we talked about Porter Martone's shooting volume. We didn't see it last game, but again, you have to factor in the conditions. They were up comfortably. Of course, the team doesn't shoot the puck as much when they have a lead, multi-goal lead. I don't mind coming back to Martone as far as shots or a goal prop. I'm going to go to Alex Bump. He got back in the lineup against the Islanders and scored a goal for them. And also Tyson Forster. I know he didn't score Friday against the Islanders, but I still think with him on that top line, there's some pretty good value there on the Flyers for Tyson Forster, who scored in his return against Detroit. You're still getting plus 255 there with him. I think if I were to look at any Boston Bruins here, Zacha, Husnudinov, Minton. It's basically wash, rinse, repeat. I mentioned those three players a lot, but they're on the top six for this team, and I could definitely see any of them possibly being the players to contribute offensively here for Boston. All right, Carolina, Ottawa. This is the last of the afternoon games on this Sunday. Carolina minus 130 road favorites this game in Ottawa. The total 6 across the board. Ottawa did get Jake Sanderson back yesterday against the Minnesota Wild. It didn't help them win the game, unfortunately, but still, it's a huge boost to have him back when you still have Shabbat out, Yakimchuk out, Jensen out, Gilbert out, and Tyler Clevin, who got injured against Buffalo on Thursday. So it was absolutely a big return getting Jake Sanderson back yesterday. Now, they didn't win the game, but still a boost. You got to think he'll probably be a little bit more comfortable here in this game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina back-to-back. I don't know. It's hard to trust Ottawa with all the defensemen out, but at least they have their best guy back, Jake Sanderson. But I know for Carolina, this is a rough travel spot. This is a 5 p.m. Eastern, Raleigh to Ottawa. You can only imagine when they got in, right? Last night, especially with the border travel now. When you go U.S. to Canada and vice versa, that's even more time it takes to do the logistics and all that BS that you got to do. I have a feeling Carolina probably wouldn't have gotten into Ottawa last night until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. type of deal. I'm pretty sure of that. So, and now you got to play 5 p.m. Eastern on a Sunday. That's pretty tough. God help me, but I'm going to small bets because this Ottawa team's pretty erratic. But I think first goal, first period for Ottawa. A little Ottawa full game at plus 110. I think that is kind of the way to go here. And Carolina's home and cool, right? Going to win the Metro Division. Another big 2 points. They're getting so close now to wrapping up that division. There's really no urgency for the Hurricanes unless they really care that much about not the President's Trophy, but the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Do they really care about it that much?
Yeah, here's the thing. That might be important, especially we talking about this wild card 2 spot just being kind of random. You don't trust any of those teams. Yeah. That might be a draw that you want to grab. I've said it in our chat last night. I really feel like whoever gets that second spot, I would go under 1.5 wins with their series. I could see any of these teams that finish technically eighth in the East, only winning one game or getting swept potentially. So that could be important for Carolina.
Yeah. Just based on they might prefer the wild card 2 opponent this year in the playoffs. Yeah, I could definitely see that here. The total's tough, right? I don't want to bet unders with Freddie Anderson. I can tell you that right now. But at the same point in time, Carolina's back to suppressing shots again. They've done it at a really high level lately. So how much rubber is Anderson going to see? With the way they've been, pretty good as far as keeping shots against pretty down. So I'm off the total. I am going to probably sprinkle on the first goal, first period, Ottawa. Because this is rough. Like, this is from Raleigh, North Carolina, all the way to Ottawa, getting in probably at 2 a.m. local time, Eastern time. And now I'm going to play 5 p.m. Eastern. So they actually play less than 24 hours, after last night's game down in Raleigh against the Islanders. Whereas Ottawa played 1 p.m. Eastern early afternoon yesterday. They don't have to travel. It is a pretty big edge situationally here for the Ottawa Senators. So, yeah, give me Ottawa first goal, first period, and Ottawa money line. I'll get in on both of those.
I'm right there with you on first goal, first period. That's the only way I could trust Ottawa. I cannot trust them within 60-minute effort in a game where they absolutely need one. Yeah, we've been saying that for a week and a half now. So Ottawa first goal, first period only for me.
Yeah, this is just a situational scheduling spot advantage for Ottawa that I think you just have to grin and bear it and take it. It is Reimer. It probably is going to be James Reimer for Ottawa. I do want to mention that because it's back-to-back, and they played Allmark yesterday, but I've not been impressed with Allmark the last few games. He's on my shit list right now. So I'm not that terrified about, we're taking Ottawa first goal, first period, and Ottawa money line here with James Reimer in net. I'm not that terrified, quite honestly, at this point in time. So because I think Allmark's been less than stellar, and that's putting it mildly here in recent games. As far as
I just looked up James Reimer's numbers.
Yeah.
I just looked up James Reimer's numbers against Carolina, 7-12-4 with a 2.54 goals against and a .918 save percentage with 2 shutouts. So
that's
he's had a lot of it's not bad.
But,
a lot of games against him, but
Yeah, it's a situational spot. It's so strong that I think you got to take it with Ottawa. But you don't have to take it big, and I'm not taking it big. But I am going to be on it. As far as props, Batherson scored yesterday. Talked about Jackson Blake heating up. Svechnikov, those are worth a look. I still say Stankoven and for Carolina. He had been heating up for them before not scoring yesterday, but still think he could be worth a look for them. Pinto has had some history scoring against Ottawa. Keep that in mind. So those are a couple of props. Oh, you know what? This one, I think this could be the day to check out maybe the Fogue Daddy again, Warren Fogle, the former player angle. Remember, he was with Carolina a long time ago. So Warren Fogle for Ottawa. I think I might get in on goal prop with him this afternoon for the Senators here as well. All right, the rest of the games are night games. New Jersey, Montreal, Part 2. Last night they played in Jersey. Tonight they go to La Belle Province in Montreal, Bell Center. Montreal minus 150, home favorites. Total here sitting at looks like 6.5 across the board. Now, last night we had Dobish and Allen. Tonight we're going to have probably Markstrom and Fowler, I would think, as the goaltenders for these respective teams. It is projected to be Jacob Markstrom for Jersey, Jacob Fowler for Jacob versus Jacob here. Climbing Jacob's ladder. There we go. A little Huey Lewis in the news from back in the day. Step by step, rung by rung, higher and higher. There we go. I'm sounding like to some people I'm higher and higher right now. But, New Jersey and Montreal. I mean, I'm not betting against Montreal, but I love the price last night. I don't love the price tonight, minus 150, but there's no chance I'm fading the Habs right now. They're playing some excellent hockey. Maybe I just go back to Montreal team total tonight. This is in that range where I don't want to lay this kind of a price, so I pivot. Maybe look at team total over 3.5 here with Montreal. But that's probably the only look for me. I haven't moved on this game yet. If I do, it'll be Habs team total over 3.5. Alex, what do you think here? Devils, Canadians.
Rinse and repeat with Cole Caulfield. Anytime goal scorer plus 100. It won't be a best bet today.
Yeah, he's trying to get to 50. Yeah,
he's trying to get to 50. So at even money, that's worth the play. That's the only thing I really like here in this spot. I wasn't really upset that I missed out on the draw yesterday because that game didn't have much of a draw feel until the third period. I thought the Habs would be able to kind of take care of business there, but the Devils still playing feisty hockey, scrappy hockey.
They are. So, yeah. 100% they are. I mean, they were down 3-0 last night against the Habs. Came back, forced overtime, tied it with the Meyer goal late. You're right. They haven't rolled over. They've played competitive. They're not dead to the world. So that's why I just don't love the price. The price to bet Montreal was last night. Rolling, feeling good. They already beat this team now, and they're laying a bigger number tonight. There you go. That's another reason not to. There you go. Devils have won 10 straight at Montreal. I went against a streak similar to that with Nashville San Jose last night, saying I'm going to be the smart guy saying San Jose is finally going to beat this team after losing 14 in a row, and instead they just made it 15 losses in a row, San Jose against Nashville. So, yeah, Devils have played well in Montreal, so we'll see. Value on New Jersey, people making a case for the Devils. I just don't want to step in front of the Habs with this streak, but, yeah, minus 150. Not the price I like compared to last night. Maybe the draw. Rich saying teams are 2-for-2 draw this season. Yeah, I think actually you're talking me into that draw because they went to overtime last night.
And it's the best price on the board, too, the draw, plus 340.
Yeah. Plus, it's first home game off a road trip, and it's always a little dicey here for that. As far as goal props here, you mentioned Goal Caulfield for sure. He's trying to get 50. I like Dawson Mercer again. Scored in back-to-back games. Scored a goal last night against Montreal. And don't forget, this guy is all along. I've been waiting for him to start popping some goals in because Sheldon Keefe's had him with Hischier and Mercer and Meyer on the top line for a while. So Dawson Mercer for New Jersey. I'm definitely going to go back to the well as far as goal prop. Hughes has scored in back-to-back games. Ivan Demidov is starting to heat up for the Montreal Canadiens a little bit as well. He scored in 2 of the last 5 for them. So there's a couple of looks there as far as this game goes. Connor Brown, we've mentioned him. But Mercer's probably my favorite goal prop, really, for either side here tonight. Slavkovsky's sitting on 29 goals, so he's got trying to get to that milestone of 30. So you could look at a Uri Slavkovsky goal prop. I don't mind that either. All right, Washington Capitals, New York Rangers. We've got Washington minus 115 road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. See, the finger is right on, almost on the confirm button for me here in this game with Washington, but I'm leery of the Charlie Lindgren announcement, that he's going to start here for the Capitals. But at the same point in time, because obviously, look, Logan Thompson is the guy you'd want in these big-time games for the Washington Capitals, who are now suddenly only 1 point out of the second wild card spot. But, it's good. Do they go to Lindgren because Logan Thompson played last night against Buffalo? That's going to be the big question. Or does Spencer Carberry give Logan Thompson this start as well on the second night of back-to-back games? Because my concern with Lindgren is he hasn't been great the last several times we've seen him. We're looking at Lindgren being he actually played well his last start, which was at Buffalo on March 12th. He gave up 1 goal, and the Capitals did win that game. But that was the first time Lindgren had given up fewer than 3 goals since December the 3rd. That's a long freaking time ago. And he has a 3.29 goals against average and 886 save percentage. So we'll see how that goes. Robert's saying Lindgren did shut out the Rangers, though, early in the season.
He's actually got great numbers against the Rangers in 6 meetings, 5-1 with a 1.49 goals against, 946 save percentage, and 2 shutouts, including, like as Robert mentioned, 1 this year.
Wow. So I'd still like it more with Thompson, but I think that's enough to give me that final push I need with Washington. I'll get in on Washington here, minus 115. Yeah. They are 1-11 on the second night of back-to-back games, the New York Rangers, which is another thing. They've been dreadful. They got their big win against Detroit's ABC. Well, this is an ESPN game. They kept McDonough and Ferraro at Madison Square Garden to do this game tonight, Capitals and Rangers. But it is another TV game, but the Capitals now, please, can one of these teams have some fucking killer instinct here? Here's Washington now, huge win last night against Buffalo. You're 1 point back because of all these other teams sputtering and tripping over their own 2 feet. Show some guts and step up and win a game against a team you should beat. That's all we're asking. We were asking Detroit yesterday was to step up and win a game against a team you should beat. They couldn't do it. Can the Washington Capitals do it? I'll take a chance they can. Washington minus 115. And you're right. I'm not a biggest fan of Lindgren in his form, but he has been very, very strong against the Rangers, as you noted, Alex. So what do you think here, Capitals, Rangers?
Yeah, I'm on Caps. I got minus $1.13, which is still floating around at BetOnline offshore. I also have the first period over 1.5, minus 124 over at FanDuel. This is the ESPN Inside Out game. I've seen more promo for this one particular game this week than I have
You're right.
for any of the Stadium Series games. I haven't heard anybody promote the second game of the night that's going to be on ESPN. They've just been talking about this whole animated animatronic.
Nickelodeon or whatever thing they're
It's
doing.
Disney Channel,
Disney
yeah,
Plus,
bullshit.
No.
That apparently this is what kids need to watch hockey now. We were 6 years old. We watched fucking regular ass hockey. No big deal. Now it's got to be animated. But I digress. I like the Capitals money line. I like first period over here.
Yeah, I know. It's just I know they're trying to get kids into watching hockey. I get that part of it, but yeah, we don't need to be hit over the head 10 million times with the advertisement for it. And having that advertised more than other big events on your hockey calendar, which is absurd, as you mentioned. But we don't control that, unfortunately. So yeah, we're both in agreement here. We'll take Washington. We'll trust that Lindgren and his ownage against the New York Rangers, and he has owned this team and played great against them. We'll trust that can continue here tonight in this matchup. As far as props are concerned here for this game, Ryan Leonard, I think, starting to heat. Gabe Perreault with the hat trick. I've talked about Gabe Perreault for a while. I said eventually, with where he is in the lineup, he's going to start producing for the Rangers. And boy, did he produce yesterday against the Detroit Red Wings. So how about two of the younger guns on their respective teams out of the college ranks going head-to-head tonight? I think we can look in those two directions there with with both of them. Gabe Perreault for the Rangers, Ryan Leonard for Washington. I definitely think the props there with both of them worth a look. All right, last game for this Sunday slate. That was the first of a Sunday night ESPN doubleheader, and this is the second game of their ESPN Sunday night doubleheader. St. Louis, Colorado. We've got Colorado minus 220 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I mean, we've talked about the up one spot, down one spot nature of the Colorado Avalanche. This is their down spot to me. You know, a huge win against Dallas yesterday. Bednar read them the riot act. They got a big win against the Dallas Stars. It's just a question of when, not if anymore. They're going to clinch the Central Division at this point in time. Back-to-back for them. St. Louis, very, very solid win, albeit Anaheim struggling, but still to beat Anaheim 6-2 Friday night. The St. Louis Blues, a job well done by them. Looks like Red Wings are already on the board, 1-0. They've scored on Minnesota.
Yep.
So there you go.
And I just grabbed them. Just grabbed them minus 110 to score a second goal too. If this is a game they need to pile on Minnesota. Maybe they can get an opening here.
That's right. And Minnesota, like I said, there's just not the same motivation for them with where they're at compared to where Detroit is at. So Red Wings are up 1-0 there. Yeah, I think this is the down spot for Colorado. They've had a bunch of these lately where they get their one win, the pressure is taken off, especially when you beat Dallas, the team that's chasing you in the Central. Now you fall flat here, at least fall flat early. I'm right there with Jonathan. He already posted it in the chat. I've already bet it. St. Louis first goal, first period in this game. I'm going to be on St. Louis goal in the first period as well. In this game, Blues goal in the first period. We know Colorado in these down spots have given up and conceded goals quickly. And I would think on a back-to-back, we're going to see Blackwood. He has been a goalie that's given up these goals quickly in these games, early in these games. Why not again tonight here against St. Louis? That at least is still a flicker of a pulse. They're not going to get in, but they at least still hit the ice tonight with a flicker of a pulse that they can get into the playoffs. So at minus 122, you can take St. Louis goal in the first period. That's the one I like the most. I like that even more than first goal, first period here in this game. Just the Blues to get on the board. And remember, Blues have been a great first period team all season. As much as they've struggled, the first period goal differential for the Blues is by far their best of any of the periods. So, like I said, St. Louis goal in the first period is at minus 122 at FanDuel. I like that quite a bit. I think we'll get in on the Blues money line smaller for the full game, but I will dabble in it at this price, as well as the team total over for the full game on the Blues. And plus, too, with Colorado, they had their tighten it up defensive moment. I'd probably lean a little bit here, full game over here. This could be one of those games, too, where it's just you pepper the board with a bunch of various looks that I think are all good high percentage looks. A little Blues first period goal is my favorite. But put a little Blues first period, first goal. Put a little both teams to score maybe in the first period. Put a little bit, first period over in your pocket, and put a little full game over in your pocket. And definitely in my mind, because I think they're live here, we've seen Colorado just go flat and just, crater in these spots before lately with not as much on the line. That Blues money line for the full game and that Blues full game team total over 2.5 is also worth a look here in this game. Alex, final game. What do you think here? St. Louis, Colorado.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Heavy stacked on Blues. I got plus 190 this morning on the money line, but I will be adding first goal of first period and that first goal in first period minus 122. Both looks I think are solid. But I also like this team total. You get over 2.5 minus $1.02 for the full game. That might be my favorite play of the 4 spots. I definitely trust, like you said, in St. Louis to get 3 goals here and at that cheaper price. Liking that more than anything else. But all points to St. Louis basically in this spot.
Yeah, and I believe it's going to be we don't have the goalies confirmed, but I'm seeing projections. I'm sure it's going to be Blackwood on the back-to-back for Colorado. But I'm seeing Jordan Binnington projected as of now for the St. Louis Blues here in this game tonight. We saw him in the LA game where they lost in overtime, but I thought he still played pretty solid. And he has been better lately. He's given up 2 goals or less in his last 3 starts, Jordan Binnington. But it's inconsequential to me, whether it's Binnington or Joel Hofer. I'd still be liking St. Louis in a variety of forms here, as mentioned. As far as goal props, Holloway, we'll get in on Dylan Holloway. Pius Suter, I think, is worth a look. He scored in 2 of the last 5. Dylan Holloway's been great, scored last game. Suter scored last game for the Blues. Thomas has scored in back-to-back games suddenly as well, and you're getting him at a really good price for the St. Louis Blues in the plus 310, plus 320 range. Now for Colorado, Nate McKinnon, Nate Dogg scored in 3 straight for them. I'm not going to abandon Parker Kelly just yet, even though he finally didn't score yesterday. We'll give it another whirl with Parker Kelly tonight for the Colorado Avalanche. And Sam Malinsky is dropped to the second power play. He was dropped to the second power play against Dallas, but he is still on the top pair with Devon Taves. So I will still sprinkle in the Sam Malinsky point prop, assist prop, and certainly the goal prop because he had been on a multi-game goal-scoring streak. Snapped yesterday against Dallas, but I still think at the price you're getting with Sam Malinsky, his goal prop still worth a look as well. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Hope you enjoyed our Easter Sunday edition of the Ice Guys. In case you missed it earlier, couple things. Patrick Waugh fired as head coach of the New York Islanders, replaced by Peter DeBoer.
With 4 games left.
Yeah, with 4 games. 4. I said 5. 4 games left.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff. Stuff you would not see in this league 30 years ago. A coach getting fired with 4 games left in the regular season. That's the big news, but also some big news in our world, our circles. Our free-for-all Ice Guys live betcast for the month of April is this Thursday, April the 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on all night for the Thursday card. DM or email either of us to join the betcast. We'll send you the link as it starts. So make sure you're there Thursday night, April 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern this week for our free-for-all, open to the public, April Ice Guys live betcast. WizardSportsPicks.com. Check out the site. All the great handicappers, daily premium picks, #1 in NHL college basketball, NBA profitable as well. So get on board, WizardSportsPicks.com. I did the Beyond the Lines video for today as well for the site, so check that out as well. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. So make sure you check it out. And again, also, betcasts still aplenty for Patreon members only. We do have the free-for-all betcast this Thursday, but that's going to be the only free betcast this month. The rest of them will be Patreon. The final week of the regular season, we're going to have a betcast, Patreon only. We're going to have 2 Stanley Cup playoff first-round betcasts late in April. Both of them Patreon only. So make sure you get on board, be there for those exclusive betcasts. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. And again, your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So get on board for just $10 per month at patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. It's springtime. It's a great time to get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a T-shirt, cap. We've got polos. We've got tank tops. We've got all kind of wonderful merchandise with our wonderful logos on it. So check it out at the Ice Guys store. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
There we go. Sorry. Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday NHL slate. Again, lots, of course, of playoff implications on this Sunday. I think it was a dry day yesterday. Yeah, no bargain bins yesterday. It was, but that's okay. It's a good chance for a bounce back. There are a lot to choose from. Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
Let's go to Manhattan. You got the Capitals skating with the New York Rangers, and I'm looking at Connor McMichael, anytime goal scorer. You can get him plus 400 over at FanDuel. That's the price I'm seeing there. So Connor McMichael, anytime goal for the Washington Capitals. I like the spot for the team, like the spot for him on the second line. That's my bargain bin special tonight, plus 400.
All right, there we go. Connor McMichael for the Washington Capitals for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. I have two bargain bin specials here for this Sunday slate. I mentioned it. One of them was a day game, Florida-Pittsburgh. Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac, one of my favorite 90s songs. Return of the Mac, you know that I'll be back. Well, I'm back betting Mackie Samoskevich for the Florida Panthers. He has really taken advantage of the absences in the top six, filling that spot and contributing and producing in that spot. 4 straight games with a goal for Mackie Samoskevich, looking to make it 5 straight. We'll roll with him. I think Florida will show a little bit of feistiness and pride after the 9-4 beatdown yesterday at the hands of these Pittsburgh Penguins. And Mackie Samoskevich did score one of the 4 goals for Florida against Pittsburgh yesterday. Plus 370 at DraftKings. Mackie Samoskevich for the Florida Panthers for my first bargain bin special of the night. Second bargain bin special of the night. It's down to 2. I just want to make sure the prices are still bargain bin worthy. They are. I almost went with Robert Thomas for St. Louis, but I'm going to go Dawson Mercer instead for New Jersey. I like that he's on the top line. He scored in back-to-back games. He scored last night. He's plus 380. It's also a better price than Robert Thomas. So I like that. Dawson Mercer, New Jersey, plus 380. So there you go. Mackie Samoskevich for Florida, plus 370. And Dawson Mercer for the New Jersey Devils, plus 380. Best price available. There you have it for my 2 bargain bin specials here for this Sunday slate. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
You know, the way that the New York Rangers have played at home this year, it's quite fitting that they're going to have their games broadcast on the Disney Channel tonight. Give me the Washington Capitals minus $1.13. This is Lindgren going against the Rangers. He's 5-1. Like I said, fantastic numbers against them. Rangers 1-11 on the second night of back-to-backs. It's a cheap price for a team that's desperate trying to get into the playoff or get into the playoffs, I should say. Give me the Washington Capitals on the money line as my Sunday best bet.
Washington money line, best bet for Alex B. Smith. Fresh off Florida, Pittsburgh over easily yesterday is my best bet. We'll see if we can add to it tonight. Let's go to St. Louis, Colorado. Goal in the first period, St. Louis Blues. I love that bet. Minus 122, St. Louis Blues, goal in the first period. I think they get on the board in the opening 20 against Colorado. I like a bunch of other Blues looks as well. Check the Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys. The entire card will be there. We'll have a bunch of different bets going in this Blues-Avs game, but definitely top of the list for this game is that St. Louis gets on the board in the first period. So St. Louis Blues, goal in the first period, -122. That will be my best bet here for this Sunday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Yes, it is Easter Sunday, so happy Easter one more time to everybody. Hope you enjoy your Easter holiday. And a reminder, again, Betcast Thursday night, free for all, 7 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to that. At the moment, I've been asked about this, so I'll address it now quickly before we sign off. People were asking, what are you guys going to do Thursday, April the 16th is the end of the regular season, and the playoffs start Saturday, April 18th. The Friday show in between is going to be a playoff preview show. Yeah, that's
Right.
just when we'll dive in. We'll do series prices, goal score props, point score props for the series as well, because you can bet those now. We'll have all kinds of opinions on that on the Friday.
And still check Patreon, because there may be things that aren't available because that quick turnover. I remember last year there were some props that weren't available until literally day of game one. So there will be some things that will be, as far as futures go for first round series props, there will be stuff on that Friday page, but there will also be things that will be involved on Saturday as well. So definitely want to be a Patreon member for those first couple of days of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I said, there's probably going to be stuff that we're not going to be able to get to talk about on that Friday playoff preview show, because sportsbooks won't make certain markets available until later in Friday, closer to Saturday when the series begin. But we will have a playoff preview show on that Friday, April the 17th, which is the day before the playoffs begin. All right, let's get out of here. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And even Patrick Waugh, try to have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow.
Day off.
Yeah, day off now. Yeah, exactly. Monday, we'll see you again at 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.